The time has finally come. We've got Maro's teasers for the Edge of Eternity expansion. Sorry, the Edge of Eternities expansion, because there's multiple eternities. And there's a lot of interesting information to glean in these teasers. Just like last set, I do have Fingon, my editor, here with me to go over this and bounce some ideas off of him and have him bounce some ideas off of me. So, welcome to the video, Finn.
Hello.
All right, we're gonna dive right in. Here we see Blogatog, Maro's Edge of Eternities teaser. Before previews for Edge of Eternities officially begin, I thought it would be fun to do another of my duelist-style teasers where I give tiny hints of things to come. Note that I'm only giving you partial information. I'm pretty sure he starts this the exact same way with those same lines every single time.
He does, yeah. That's why I do not ever include it in the
yeah,
Discord.
he just kind of copies and pastes it from post to post. First up, here are some things you can expect. A repeatable activated ability that lets you draw 2 cards and create a 2/2 creature token. If I'm not mistaken,
already know this.
We already saw this?
Yeah, it's one of the cards, so yes, we've seen.
Right, there was a leaked card.
Yeah, it's the one that creates the lander token.
Right, it's a Simic card, 2 mana for a 2/2. When it enters, you create a lander token, which you can pay 2 mana and sack to find a basic and put it into play. And then it also has that activated ability. You pay 8 mana to draw 2 cards and create a 2/2. Doesn't come in tapped, and it's repeatable. You could do it every single turn. You could do it twice a turn if you wanted, if you had 16 mana. Personally think that card's going to be nuts in limited. Absolutely nuts in limited.
Biomechan Engineer was the name.
Yeah, Biomechan Engineer. The next tease we have here is a white card that can return non-creature, non-land cards from the graveyard to the battlefield. Didn't they just ban one of those, Finn?
They did, yeah.
Pretty sure they banned that exact card. Abuelo's Awakening can return non-creature, non-land cards from the graveyard to the battlefield for 4 mana. And now they're bringing another one in. I wonder if whatever this card is contributed to their decision to ban Abuelos. Very interesting.
Actually, Abuelo's Awakening specifically was target artifact or non-aura enchantment.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
So this could bring like planeswalkers or battles back.
Right. Well, the main reason they banned it could be the same for all intents and purposes, theoretically, for the reason they banned it. They banned Abuelo's Awakening because it can get back an Omniscience on turn 4, or potentially turn 3 if you had a mana to work out, although I don't think you're going to have enough cards in the graveyard to do it yet, if that's the case. But, so I would assume that whatever this card is, it can definitely bring back an Omniscience again. It's probably going to cost at least 5 mana, maybe more, I would assume.
It's going to cost 4, then they better fucking ban Omni then.
Yeah,
that's all I'm gonna say.
It would be really, really weird if they had something that could curve out similarly to Abuelo's Awakening after just banning Abuelo's Awakening. I would assume that, if this is a little bit more expensive, people are going to be more apt to try this card without Abuelo's Awakening being in the format. But either way, I'm sure whatever this is, people are going to try it out with Omniscience. The next teaser here is another Arch Charm. Is it Arch or Arc? Arch, like Arch Druid,
Arch.
right? Yeah.
I would say Arch. Yeah, Arch Druid.
Arch Druid, Arch Priest. Those are interesting. It's always 3 mana of one color. I believe we've gotten the green one and the blue one. I don't remember if we've gotten any more. Do you know off the top of your head?
Not off the top of my head.
So theoretically,
Arch Druid and Arch Mage, I think, are the two.
So I would assume it could be red, or white, or black.
I mean, it's definitely one of those because it's, a cycle.
It's gonna be one in the color of Mardu. I'm really interested to see what that ends up being. I'm not gonna fathom a guess at this point. Kind of hoping for the black one though, just because I think it would be probably more interesting. The red one's probably just going to be something aggressive, which will be weird for a 3 mana spell. And yeah, white's gonna do white things, but black, I don't know, I feel like black could go in so many different directions.
Arch
What?
nemesis is charm.
Yeah, right. Archlich, Archlich charm. Next,
I'm not sure.
next up, we've got a card that makes you choose odd or even. Oh, this makes me scared. The reason this makes me scared the most is not because of Magic. It's because I've been playing a lot of another game called Wonders of the First, and there is a card called Omnis Quantum in that game where at the start of the last round you choose odd or even, and then your opponent cannot play spells, can't play any cards at all that are that cost. And it just makes me facepalm every time I see it. And there's some ways to trigger it a second time so that you can choose both, and your opponent can't play anything. And it's given me headaches, we'll just say. So, not to go off on a tangent, but I kind of have PTSD when I see a line of text like that.
I'm getting PTSD for a different reason.
Has there been anything in Magic that has done that before?
Oh, definitely. Multiple.
I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I'm sure there have been.
Extinction event, man.
Extinction
event.
That's true. Extinction event.
And also from the same set, Lava Brink Venture.
Honestly, it would be pretty interesting if we saw a reprint of Extinction Event. It would maybe make sense with the theme of the set because, you know, an entire world, you extinct a species on an entire world.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, I wouldn't be surprised if this is just Extinction Event reprint.
It could be. It could be.
If it is, then oh my god. So Black is gonna have exile removal too. We're gonna have Sunfall and
it could
Extinction
also
Event on the
be.
same.
Well, Sunfall's about to rotate. Sunfall will be gone when this comes in, luckily. At least for standard. But it could also be a new sort of twist on Extinction Event where it's similar but not exactly the same. Maybe it hits a different thing. Maybe it doesn't hit creatures or whatever. That would probably be too obtuse, though.
It could also be white and it just exiles all non-land permanents that are mana value of that.
Oh god, it could
just
be.
saying, it could be worse or could be better.
Dude, if we get that after Sunfall's finally gone, it took a while for Farewell to go away. And now we're almost to a point where Sunfall is gone. Don't ruin it for me, Wizards. Don't do it.
No, they will.
The next one is a new artifact token called Munitions. I wonder if this is simply like an artifact token you sack to ping something. You think it could be?
Maybe. It's hard to say just from the name. Because,
it could have something to do with direct damage. It could have something to do with equipment, potentially. I don't think it would have something to do with equipment, but I could see it possibly, theoretically.
What if it's just...
feel like it's pretty likely you sack to do some kind of damage.
It just reminds me of, like, munitions. First thing coming to my mind is rations for some reason, but it's not that.
Well, because armies... rations is the food they eat, munitions is the ammo they use, so...
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I don't know why they used munitions instead of like ammo, just straight up just ammo token.
Yeah, they probably just want to make it sound cooler, or what they think is cooler. It's probably just like a token that's pay to sack ping something for one. It'll be interesting to see what that ends up being though. Then we've got a variant on Devour, which is kind of interesting. Puts +1/+1 counters on. Eats up a creature, right?
Yeah, like you can sack as many creatures as you want, and the creature then would enter the battlefield with that many +1/+1 counters if it's Devour 1. If it's Devour 2, it enters with double the amount you sacked, kind of deal.
Right. Maybe you're devouring worlds, you're devouring lands. Or maybe it's like spaceships devouring creatures, or...
Maybe you're devouring and you'd get +1/+1 counters equal to the power or toughness.
Maybe. It says specifically it's a variant, so we know it's going to be at least somewhat similar to Devour, but it won't be exactly the same. Next is a card that lets you take control of an opponent. Mindslaver is back? Good god.
Cool.
Good god. Brownie. Mindslaver's back. Oh boy. Yeah, that's my only guess for that. Maybe it's a new version of Mindslaver. Maybe it's a fixed Mindslaver where you have to station it for a whole bunch in order to do it.
You don't think it's an Emrakul?
Oh god. It might be. It might be. I just know that there's a huge artifact theme in this set. I guess there is an Eldrazi theme, right? They're kind of trying to hide it right now, but one of them was leaked, and there's a little bit popping up in the story. So
Just like slivers are popping
yeah,
up.
I guess it could be whatever. There's also a legendary 5-color artifact.
It's probably a ship.
Yeah, I don't know. I've got no guesses on that. What was the one from Mirrodin? Trying to remember. The sun something.
I'll check it quickly. From
I don't
Mirrodin.
remember.
Reaper King?
Maybe.
No, that's from Shadowmoor. There's not many artifacts that
Yeah. Artifact
Hello.
and 5-color and legendary. Even the
that's
dogs are
the-
excited.
Yeah, the only one close to that would be the Reaper King, that is the Scarecrow. But that's from Shadowmoor.
I know you're upset. I'm upset too. I don't want to see another poison card. The dogs ran away because they saw what the next one was. A poison card.
I mean,
Please, God, no. No more poison cards.
didn't that picture you show?
Yeah.
Didn't that show the poison, like it's two poison counters?
We've already seen this leaked out. It is an artifact creature that allows all of your artifact creatures to give poison counters, which is terrifying. I wonder if we just run all artifact creatures with Death Touch, and then this card, and then Finn the Fangbearer, and just call it a day.
Maybe.
How many artifact
Well,
creatures have Death
it's-
Touch? Probably not a lot.
It just feels weird that we're getting this card now that the
Yeah.
Brothers War is gonna rotate out.
Well, my theory would probably be that poison is going to come back in a later set, and they're trying to position this as sort of a tease. They've done that in the past. They did it with the Phyrexian Praetors. They did it with when they put out the new Atraxa card, and it mentioned the battle card type, which hadn't been revealed yet. They tend to do that a lot. They like see a card in preparation for the future.
Hold up though.
You got.
They were poison counters at murders at Carlo Manor too. And that didn't go anywhere.
That's true.
So that could be just a one-time thing too.
That's true. That's true. Watch it be Karn. Card that grants an ability to slivers. That's exciting, but it also could be misleading. Are they trying to toy with our emotions? Because if there are changelings in this set, any sort of like Lord ability that hits a certain creature type could technically be applied to slivers. Although I guess it's specifying here that it's specifically to slivers, so maybe they're not trying to mess with us. Maybe they're just being straightforward here.
Maybe.
There have been some mentions of slivers in the story, I think.
Yeah, I'm just thinking if Sliver is the main archetype, or if it's just gonna be like there's just gonna be this one card that creates slivers, and it's the same card that also grants abilities to that sliver.
Yeah. I would guess that that's probably the case. There's probably going to be like one big new Sliver Lord thing that creates slivers and also grants an ability to those slivers. And then if you are playing with changelings, you can make better use of it. And maybe there is a place for it in standard. Yada, yada, yada. But I mean, I'm hoping against hope that they just come back as a relevant creature type in this set. That would be so cool. We haven't seen slivers in so long. At least not in standard. Next, here are some rules text that will be showing up on cards. Whenever you play a land or cast a spell, draw a card. It probably only triggers once a turn, like everything these days, so I'm not all that excited about it. Although it is interesting that it says play a land.
Or it could also be like it omits the fact like like then discard a card unless you discard, like
Yeah,
unless
maybe.
you control a certain amount of lands or something like that.
Right. There is a period there, so there are some things that would work and some things that wouldn't, but there's definitely got to be some kind of a catch there, in my opinion.
It's definitely a catch.
They're trying to get us excited about something that's not going to be as exciting once we see the full card, I think. If it's
Or
not
it's
a
like an
creature,
ultimate.
if it's not a creature, it becomes a 0/0 robot artifact creature. We already saw this, the Tezzeret Ultimate, like you just said. Turns, you get an emblem that basically does this every turn. Then we've got, you may play lands from your graveyard. This is a very land-based set, so that kind of makes sense.
Actually, hold on.
No real speculation on what that could be, but
I mean, given we're in a space with a lot of planets, given we also know that one of the elite cards is a planet, could this be Crucible of Worlds reprint?
it would be cool. From a flavor perspective, I would love that. Is it relevant in standard? I don't know. That's
I
a good
don't think
question.
so, but
It's a good
it
question.
could be the chase card
Yeah, it
for
could be
commander
interesting.
players, because Crucible is like what, $30, $60? I don't know. How much is Crucible nowadays?
I'm not even sure, to be honest.
$30.
Brownie Man's in the chat right now, and he says, "Did you see the Planet Land?" I did, but we're gonna cover that in another video, Brownie Man. The next one here says, "You may instead create that many tokens that are copies of enchanted permanent." So it's going to be an aura, enchants a permanent, does something unless a certain criteria is met.
I think this is like a Simic or like a blue aura that says whenever you would, well, no, not whenever. If you would create one or more tokens, you may instead create that many tokens that are copies of enchanted permanent.
That could be all of the tokens that you make from this point moving forward are not what they were originally intended to be. They are instead copies of the enchanted permanent.
It says may, so it's
Right.
It's not like a you have
Right,
to.
right. That would be really, really cool. That would be really cool. I'd like to see something like that. I have no idea what kind of cost it would be for a card like that. Not a clue.
Like expensive.
Maybe.
6, 5.
Next up, we've got artifact cards and red cards in your hand have.
Warp.
It could be. I just like that there's something that hits artifact and red. You could play big red again, maybe, and use a lot of bomby artifacts as well as, red control elements. That could be really cool. I mean, we don't know what it actually does, so it's hard to say if it could actually be used in that way, but that's what it makes me think of. I like that it's not just red cards and it's not just artifact. Like, there's a crossover. It could be potentially really good for like a mono red equipment style deck. There wouldn't be enough gas to go one color in equipment with the standard card pool right now, but if this new set brings enough new gas that supports an archetype like that, I could see it being something like that.
Brownie, I don't think it's gonna be kicker. How it would be kicker to give a
Brownie
card
in
that
chat
doesn't have a
thinks
kicker.
It's kicker. I think he was talking about the how many tokens, create that many tokens. But yeah, this is interesting. I'm kind of hoping we see a bunch of cards for different colors like this.
Brownie.
Next up, we've got put target creature from defending player's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control, tapped and attacking.
That's definitely a black.
Yeah. It specifically says defending player's graveyard, so it's something that's going to trigger on attack. Or either that or just be an instant speed thing. But I feel like that would be really weird design space to make an instant that you can only really use during combat. So more than likely it's an attack trigger.
It's definitely an attack trigger, and I think it's gonna be either a black or a red-black creature. Kind of like Olivia is.
Yeah, it could be. It could also... Another thing that could be interesting is if this was a spacecraft. You know, and maybe it needs to be stationed first, and then when you attack, you get to, like, take their stuff that you killed. There could be something thematically, like, flavor-wise, that ties the storyline into, like, why that ship does that. You know, just picking up the remnants of a battle and, like, rephasing, reconstituting their body back together.
Maybe.
I don't know. Could be interesting. The next one is the first spell each player casts during each of their turns may be cast without paying its mana cost.
Oh, it's a group hug?
Yeah, it works for everybody. So on your turn, it's the first spell you cast, and on their turn, it's the first spell they cast. And obviously, in a multiplayer game, it works for just everybody.
This sounds bad, honestly.
Well, it depends. You could build around getting way more value off of it than your opponent if you just got a bunch of big bumps. It's pretty interesting. It would also be interesting if it was something that had, like, variable states. Like, you know, while this is untapped, the first spell each player casts during each of their turns may be cast without paying its mana cost. While it's tapped, the first spell each player casts during each of their turns costs an extra 1 mana. Something like that. And maybe it's on a creature, and, like, no, that's probably too much. Because then you just attack and it's always tapped on your opponent's turn. But it would be interesting if there was, like, an other side of the coin to this ability, in my opinion. In some way. Next we've got X is the number of differently named lands you control. That's kind of interesting. We haven't seen something like that since what, like Field of the Dead? Something like that? Cares about different named lands?
I think, is it just that? I think I'm trying to remember if Sion and Draco also did that.
I know it cares about differently named lands. But it's not exactly like this.
There are a couple.
Another thing that's worth pointing out about this line of text that is kind of interesting is there was that that enchantment in the big score that found like 5 differently named lands from your deck, and then at the end of your turn you get to put one into play for free, like every turn for 5 turns. Whatever this is, that card could combo really well with it because it's going to be like a 5-turn stream of differently named lands to kind of trigger this. Eventually, you know, set you up to trigger this. So that could be cool. Then we've got artifacts you control are foods in addition to their other types. Kind of weird, but fine. It's going to work with lander tokens and maybe those munitions tokens. Just gain a bunch of life. That's what munitions is. It's the opposite of food. It's the opposite of food, guys. It's fine.
Target opponent loses 2 life.
To imagine.
Or 3 life.
That'd be way too much. That'd be way too much. I think it's got to be ping, but I don't know. We'll see. And then the last one here is spells you cast have affinity for artifacts. That one's kind of scary, but it might also just be kind of a gimmick that goes nowhere. It's kind of like how when we got that Rao Planeswalker that had the ultimate effect that let you storm everything off. And Storm is back in Standard. Everyone was worried, and then nobody really uses that card.
Maybe this card is in one of the lands, maybe. Like, it just says, like...
Yeah.
Tap, sack... You tap it for mana, and it just says, during your turn... well, until end of turn, spells you cast have affinity for artifacts.
Something like that could be pretty crazy. I mean, artifacts are already looking very powerful with Synthesizer and stuff, and then this set's going to be pushing artifacts pretty crazy, and then you've also got this type line, so lots of potential there. Lots of potential. All right, we're going to move on. Here's some creature type lines from the set. Jellyfish Scientist. Okay. Insect Artificer. It's another Artificer for Sid. Go wide with Sid.
Wait, wasn't the league card Insect Artificer?
Maybe? We've also got Plant Scorpion here. Could use that with Insidious Roots, because it's a plant, maybe?
Yeah, the biomechanical engineer is an insect artificer.
Alright, it's the biomechan engineer. Drix Assassin. I kind of love Assassin Tribal, even though it isn't like super good in Standard right now. It's still just sort of a pet deck of mine. So any more Assassins in the mix that could potentially make that deck a little bit better, I like the sound of. Elemental Lurgoyf. Alright, a new probably crazy alien Lurgoyf is showing up. Mites are back? Oh god. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Is that have something... Maybe there's multiple cards with poison then. I don't know. I'm gonna hope not. Artifact creature robot pangolin. Sure. Sure. Legendary creature Kavu Scout. Legendary creature Lobster Citizen. Rock Lobster. And then obviously the big one at the end, which we already saw one leaked. Creature Eldrazi. I hope it's not the only Eldrazi. That would be really disappointing.
It could be because of the numbering system. The leaked Eldrazi is number 1,
Right.
and then Tezzeret is number 2. So there's way too much, like, you know, alphabetical space.
Right, right.
For there to be too much.
So
I don't think that's going to be
Eldrazi, unless
at least
there are Eldrazi's with colors.
Yeah, that's what I was got to say. Is there going to be like Devoid again?
I hope there is. I don't want there to be like an overwhelming crazy amount of Eldrazi, but I hope it's at least like a cycle. I hope it's not just one. It would be cool if there's like one colorless, and then like what you said, maybe there's one for each color and they have Devoid. I'd be super content with that. But I feel like it would be a huge tease if we only get literally the one. I would be kind of sad about that. I'd be more sad if we don't get more slivers, though. Just give us all the things, Wizards. It's not too much to ask for. Alright, the last part of the teaser here. Here are some names in the set. Close Encounter. We've already saw that leaked. If you guys haven't seen my leaked videos, we cover all the cards that have been leaked. There are a number of really interesting ones that explain some of the mechanics that haven't officially been spoiled yet, so definitely check those videos out. We've got Command Bridge. That'll probably do something for spacecraft. We've got Decode Transmissions. No idea, but sounds cool. Emergency Eject. I don't know, maybe like sacrifice a spacecraft to give a creature indestructible, something like that. It's interesting.
It's going to be like a bounce back kind of deal.
Maybe. There's also Invasive Maneuvers, not to be confused with Evasive Maneuvers, which is the typical terminology used. So this is like a play on words, which is interesting. We got Lost in Space. I hope this card is cool. We get one card in the set that references Lost in Space. It better be rad. It better be like Danger Will Robinson. That's all I can say.
You know what I think it's gonna be?
What?
It's gonna be fucking Feeblethip.
Next up, we've got Nebula Dragon, which just sounds sick. I'm all about that. A giant space dragon fighting a giant spacecraft. Like, that's what I get visions of, and I'm all about it. We got Space-Time Anomaly. That's so very Star Trek. And then we get Systems Override and Tractor Beam. Tractor Beam sounds interesting. Like, my first thought is like Goad, but they wouldn't do Goad in a standard legal set, so... I mean, Tractor Beam makes you stay in place or pulls you in. So... I don't know, man.
It wouldn't be big, it could be a rescue. It could be one of the ones that, you know, reanimates, too.
It could be something like a Maze of Ith, where you pull a creature out of combat. I don't know. It could be a lot of things. But we're definitely going to be tuning in for the Edge of Eternity's debut at 10 a.m. Pacific time. That's 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on July 8th. I'll make sure to cover all of that in a future spoiler video, guys. But that's going to do it for this video. So thank you guys so much for hanging out and checking out the video. And, you know, listening to me and Finn just throw our silly, ridiculous theories against the wall and see what sticks. We'll be back to do this again for the next set, which I'm pretty sure will be Spider-Man.
Hey, is it really strange? Is it really crazy stuff? Crazy stuff if we were rather close to it previously too?
Yeah,
say?
maybe. I don't know. The next set's gonna be really weird. Like, are we spoiling Spider-Man or are we spoiling the MTG Arena Universes Within set, or are we spoiling both? I don't know. We're gonna have to wait and see. But either way, we'll be spoiling something, and we'll be here to share teasers with you next time. So, till then, thanks. I'd like to thank the sponsor of today's video, Wonders of the First. Wonders of the First is a brand new collectible card game similar to games like Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon, featuring a unique action-based resource economy that helps avoid pitfalls like Mana Flood or Mana Screw, and a battlefield containing multiple realms that unlock over time as you fight for control of the stones. The first 400 card set is called Existence, and they've even partnered with Star City Games to host their competitive play tour at every single SCG-Con event starting in August. The game contains alternate borderless art variants, as well as highly sought-after limited edition numbered prints, culminating in a one-of-one stone foil. And the best part is that the developers have a community-first approach with a card database and deck builder available via Cardio, as well as a version of the game available on Tabletop Simulator, all for free. For more information, be sure to check out wondersccg.com today. That's wondersccg.com. Thanks so much for checking out my channel. I'd like to give a huge shout out to all of my patrons over at Patreon. Without you guys, this channel would not be possible, so honestly, thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of your contributions. If you haven't yet, like and subscribe. The more likes we get and the quicker we get them, the bigger this channel will grow and the faster it will grow. I'd love nothing more than this channel to become something very special for you guys, but it's entirely up to you how fast that happens. Also, if you'd like more deck text, that's somewhere over there. And if you'd like to see what else the channel's been up to lately, that's somewhere up that way. Also, subscribe, circle below, do all the things.